Welcome back to another episode of HealthCap Weekly Wrap. We've got a full lineup today. We're talking about new clinical guidance on falls, a fascinating study on Legionella control in shower systems, emerging health technology hazards for 2026, why maintenance leadership training matters more than ever, a go-to educational resource for geriatric care, and we'll wrap things up with a story that brings us back to why this work matters so much to residents and their journeys through care.
Yeah, it's one of those weeks where everything kind of connects, right? Clinical, environmental, operational, and then the human side at the end.
Exactly. All right, let's jump in.
So first up, this one's big. It comes from JAMDA, the Journal of the American Medical Directors Association, and it's the PALTmed Clinical Practice Guideline on falls and fall prevention in the post-acute and long-term care setting.
Oh yeah, this is a heavy hitter.
It really is. And I want to say right up front, we're especially proud of this one because one of the co-authors is Angie Szumlinski, HealthCap's Director of Risk Management.
Yeah, that's huge and very deserved.
No question. This guideline was developed by an interdisciplinary group of clinicians, medical directors, administrators, and senior care leaders. It's not just theory. It's meant to be used in real senior care communities.
What stood out to you most when you read through it?
Honestly, the practicality. It walks through falls in a very structured way. Recognition, assessment, treatment, monitoring, and it keeps coming back to person-centered care. Not just preventing falls at all costs, but balancing dignity, mobility, and quality of life.
And that's such an important shift. Because for a long time, fall prevention turned into alarms everywhere, restrictions everywhere, and that comes with its own risks.
Exactly. And the guideline is very clear about moving away from routine bed and chair alarms. It also has nuanced guidance on medications, anticoagulation and head injuries, post-fall assessments, and even when hospital transfer actually makes sense.
I also noticed how much emphasis there is on interdisciplinary teamwork. Nursing, therapy, pharmacy, medical directors, leadership. Everyone has a role.
And that's where Angie's expertise really shows. There's a strong risk management and quality improvement lens. It's not just about individual incidents, it's about patterns, root cause analysis, and QAPI.
So for listeners, what's the big takeaway?
Falls are still one of the most complex challenges in senior care. This guideline gives communities a roadmap. Not to eliminate every fall because that's not realistic, but to reduce harm, respond thoughtfully, and support residents in a way that aligns with their goals.
And again, that's from JAMDA, published in 2026, funded and developed by PALTmed. Even though it's brand new, it's built on years of evidence and experience.
All right, from falls, we're moving into infection prevention and the built environment.
Yeah, this next one is fascinating. It's a peer-reviewed study published in the journal Microbiome and indexed on PubMed. The title is Water Vapor Treatment of Shower Systems in Healthcare Facilities.
Oh, this is the Legionella one, right?
Yep. And it's highly relevant to senior care. The study looked at using high-temperature water vapor to treat shower systems in healthcare and senior care-associated buildings, and compared it to conventional hot water flushing.
And the water vapor performed better?
Significantly better. The researchers used microbiome sequencing and biofilm analysis, not just surface testing. They found that water vapor treatment disrupted biofilms much more effectively and reduced microbial functions that support Legionella survival.
That's interesting because we talk about Legionella control a lot, but usually in terms of temperature logs, flushing, and water management plans.
That's right, and those are still important. But this study shows that conventional hot water alone may not be enough at the point of use, especially in complex systems like showers where biofilms form.
So, what does this mean for senior care leaders?
It means the built environment matters. Infection prevention isn't just a clinical issue. It's an infrastructure issue. Maintenance teams, risk managers, and leadership all play a role in protecting residents who are especially vulnerable to Legionella exposure.
And this study is open access, right?
Yes. Published in 2026, fully open access, which is great. It gives communities real data to consider when evaluating alternative or supplemental Legionella control strategies.
All right, now we zoom out a bit.
Yeah, next up is the ECRI Top 10 Health Technology Hazards for 2026 from ECRI's Executive Brief.
ECRI does these every year, and they're always a little sobering.
They are, but they're also incredibly useful. This report looks ahead at the most significant technology-related risks in healthcare, and many of them directly affect senior care communities.
Give us an example.
Sure. Things like device integration failures, alarm management issues, cybersecurity risks, and improper maintenance or use of medical equipment. These aren't just hospital problems. Senior care uses more technology every year.
Right. More remote monitoring, more connected systems, more devices at the bedside.
Exactly. And ECRI's point is that technology can introduce new risks if it's not implemented, maintained, and monitored thoughtfully.
So why include this in the podcast?
Because it helps leaders think proactively. Instead of reacting to incidents, this report encourages communities to ask, where are we vulnerable? Do we have the right training, the right policies, the right oversight?
And this is for 2026, so it's forward-looking.
Yes, very current. And it pairs nicely with the Legionella study because both highlight that risk isn't always obvious. Sometimes it's embedded in systems we rely on every day.
All right. Speaking of systems and people who manage them, let's talk about training. This next piece comes from AHCA and NCAL.
Yeah, it's their maintenance director training program.
And this might sound less exciting at first, but it's actually critical.
Totally. Maintenance directors are responsible for so many aspects of resident well-being. Life-sustaining systems, water systems, HVAC, emergency preparedness, regulatory compliance.
And yet, a lot of times they're learning on the job.
Exactly. This training is designed specifically for maintenance leaders in senior care communities. It covers building systems, safety, compliance, and how maintenance connects to resident care.
So how does this tie back to what we've already talked about?
Well, think about it. Legionella control, health technology hazards, even fall prevention through environmental design. Maintenance leaders are central to all of that.
Right. You can have great policies, but if systems aren't maintained or understood, risk increases.
This training helps close that gap. It supports consistency, competence, and collaboration between maintenance, leadership, and clinical teams.
All right, now let's shift into education more broadly.
Yeah, this next story combines two pieces from Geriatric Fast Facts, their homepage and their About Us information.
For listeners who may not be familiar, Geriatric Fast Facts is an educational website designed for clinicians and care teams working with older adults.
And what makes it stand out is the structure. The content is concise, evidence-based, and peer-reviewed. Fast Facts are co-authored by multidisciplinary teams, guided by geriatricians, and reviewed by an editorial board.
It's not just quick tips, it's academically grounded.
Exactly, and it's also designed for teaching and training, not just point-of-care reference. You can search by topic, organ system, competencies, even underlying science.
So for senior care communities, what's the takeaway?
This is a resource teams can actually use for onboarding, ongoing education, and interdisciplinary learning. It supports better decision-making and more consistent care across roles.
And even though it's not brand new, it's very relevant. Education is always relevant.
Absolutely. And the site continues to evolve with new content and updates.
All right. And now, to close things out, we're ending on a more human note from the AHCA and NCAL blog.
Yes, it's called Join the Progress Parade, Celebrate, Share, and Support Residents' Journey Through Care.
I really like this one.
Me too. It focuses on recognizing resident milestones and progress, not just clinical outcomes.
So instead of only talking about incidents, declines, or problems, it encourages communities to celebrate moments of growth, recovery, and resilience.
And that matters.
It really does. Because at the end of the day, all the guidelines, studies, and trainings we talked about exist for one reason: to support residents and their journeys.
This story reminds us that progress looks different for every resident. And acknowledging that progress builds connection, morale, and trust.
So it's a great way to end the episode.
Yeah, it brings us full circle, from risk and prevention back to purpose.
And that wraps up this week's HealthCap Weekly Wrap. Thanks for spending time with us and for the work you do every day in senior care communities.
If you want more insights, practical guidance, and perspective, be sure to check out Angie's blog at healthcapusa.com/Angie's-blog.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.